In a recent video, I said that Marina was the most simpable mayor, and I apologize for that mistake. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining the details of the truly most simpable mayor in Hypixel Skyblock, Jerry. In today's video, I am going to be explaining everything about this incredibly OP mayor and how you can make millions of coins from participating in his events. Also, just a quick reminder, all of these videos take a ton of time and effort, and it really helps me out when you subscribe. If you want to see more and never miss a future upload, don't forget to join my Discord server, discord.gg/dkmcc123. And with that, let's get right into the video. As always, the first thing I'm gonna do is explain what Jerry's perks actually are. Jerry has 3 perks like any normal mayor does, and those 3 perks are all very powerful. The first one is slightly confusing, but it is what makes him really, really good in my opinion. Every 6 hours or so, or 18 Skyblock days, Jerry gives a different perk of a different maxed out mayor. That can be any of the other normal mayors, not including special mayors, and it gives them the max perks possible. This is really good because in general, max perk mayors are really OP. A max Diana, or Marina, or Paul are all insanely powerful, and you can get all of these every 6 hours or so. The next perk that's really, really good is the 10% stat increase. Of course, this is just obviously really powerful because it's basically a free legendary ender dragon for everybody on the server, on top of what pets you already have. Combine this with the other perks like Paul or Marina, and you can get a lot of skill XP or catacombs XP very, very quickly. Jerry's last perk is what really makes him a special mayor and is what makes him very unique. This event is called the Jerrypocalypse and lasts throughout his candidacy. During this time, he hosts a sort of event that is similar to Diana, and the way that it works is whenever you do basically anything, so that is kill mobs, mine blocks, forage, or farm, you have a chance to spawn special Jerrys. These hidden Jerrys can spawn by doing basically anything in the game, however there is a cooldown to it. This cooldown is about 6 minutes, and you can check it by using a chat triggers module that I have linked in my Discord server. This module allows you to open up a Jerry timer, which when enabled will display when you are able to and unable to catch special Jerrys or hidden Jerrys. Of course, right now I can't because the event isn't active, so the last time I killed one was about 4 months ago. However, once you start doing it again, that timer will be running, and whenever you kill a special Jerry, it'll reset to 6 minutes. Like I said earlier, these Jerrys come in one of 4 forms, and those correspond to the type of Jerry box they drop when they're killed. There's green Jerry boxes, blue, purple, and gold, and they each drop somewhat different things and can give you different amounts of skill XP. To quickly go over what Jerry boxes are and why they're useful, I'm going to talk about the loot pool of them and what they can all drop. The first thing that all of them can drop is just straight coins. Coins can be dropped from any of the Jerry boxes in a variety of amounts, with the green ones dropping 20k, the blue ones dropping 50k, the purple ones dropping either 150k or 300k, and the gold ones dropping 500k, 1 mil, or 10 million coins. Of course, all of this is very nice, however, this will be very little of your profit when you are opening Jerry boxes. The next most common drop that you can get from the Jerry boxes is raw skill XP. You can get mining, foraging, or farming skill XP from these, and from the green you get 2500, the blues are 5000, purples are 20,000, and the golds are 100,000 skill XP. While this is pretty nice, in my opinion it doesn't really pay for itself most of the time, and unless you are stupidly rich and trying to buy 50 skill average, it's probably not going to work very well. It's sort of just like the skill XP that you get from white, green, and red gifts. It's nice, but it really isn't much. The next thing that I want to go over is all of the unique drops to this event. There are a number of unique drops, with all of them except for one being exclusive to these boxes. These are a variety of things, some of them being useful and some of them being quite useless, and all of them but one is unique to them. However, they are all dropped at the exact same rate from all of the Jerry boxes. This means that the green ones and the gold ones have the exact same drop rate for all of these items. The only reason that gold ones are more expensive is because they give more coins and more skill XP. I'm going to be going over these items in increasing order of usefulness, so that means the very first one is the Jerry's Stone. In my opinion, this item is almost entirely useless because it applies the Jerry Reforge to a melee weapon. At one point, the Jerry's thick aspect of the Jerry was actually one of the best weapons in the game, but that was just for a little while before they realized, wait, That's really stupid, so then they changed it, and it is a reforge that can only be applied to the Jerry sword, and it increases its stats by a decent bit, but it's a Jerry sword. It gives it 25 strength, 10% crit chance, and 50 crit damage, and an extra ability. However, that ability is not very good. This Reforged Stone is pretty much useless, and it doesn't do much for anybody. However, it is dropped from them. The next of these items is arguably the most useless and the most useful, depending on how useful you consider making other people very, very upset to be. This is, of course, the Jerry rune. The Jerry rune is a rune that you can apply to any weapon, and it is probably the bane of my existence at some points, because when you apply it to a weapon and you kill something with that weapon, it drops a bunch of Jerry eggs on the ground, and it makes the villager noise. And you wouldn't think that it's that bad, but if you put it on a Hyperion, and then you kill a spider room, oh my god, you can't hear anything but Jerry for days. Unlike any other rune in the game, the Jerry rune only comes in the tier 3 variety, which I'm assuming they did because they didn't want to have to increase the drop chance by a ton just for a few people to have it. So there's only the tier 3 Jerry rune. I really would have thought that like a tier 1 Jerry rune would be funny, but you know, it's Hypixel, so they're just gonna do what they're gonna do. The next most useless of these items is the Jerry Candy, which when consumed gives you 100 health, 20 strength, 2 ferocity, 100 intel, and 3 magic find for 20 minutes. And while you'd think, wow, that's really OP, it really isn't because it's already included in the God Pot. There is no way to toggle this off, however, so it is the one potion effect that you can't really get rid of. But the one use for these actual Jerry candies is the way that you get rid of it, which is if you eat a real Jerry candy and then wait 20 minutes, it will turn off the Jerry candy effect in your God Pot for the remainder of that God Pot's duration. Why is that? I don't know. It's a really weird bug. It's probably not intended, and I'm guessing that it's not really even supposed to be in the God Pot in the first place, but it is, so if you ever want to disable your Jerry candy in your God Pot, eat a real Jerry candy and then wait 20 minutes. The Jerry Candy is actually the one item that you can get from this event that is not exclusive to this event, and that is because of this next item, which is the Jerry's 3D Glasses. Jerry's 3D glasses apply to a Jerry pet and increase its rarity from legendary to mythic, and it gives it a new ability, which is once again called Jerry, and that gives you a small chance to find Jerry candies when you kill mobs when you have this pet equipped. Have I ever used this ability? No. Has anybody? I really don't think so. However, if you want to have a maxed pet menu, this item is required. The two last items that you can get from the Jerry boxes are arguably the only useful ones, and they are extremely useful. The first one is probably the most powerful utility item in the game, and that is the Jerry Sheen Gun. If you don't know, the Jerry Sheen Gun is a very basic mage weapon that costs almost no mana to use, and it allows you to hold it down and fire it indefinitely if you're wearing any sort of mana armor. Even right now, I'm naked, and it will be very difficult for me to run out of mana, as I have only gone down a few hundred. While its damage dealing is useful for things like Slayer and Bestiary grinding, it's not really the main purpose of the weapon, as what most people use it for is actually dungeons, as it allows you to scale up basically any wall with ease just by looking into a wall and then holding down right click. Why does that work? I don't really know, but it's been around for a long time, and so it's here to stay. And this is what makes the Jerry Sheen Gun extremely useful as a utility item, especially in Floor 7. The last and probably most useful item that you can get from the Jerry boxes is the Green Jerry Talisman. While this is just an uncommon talisman that gives -1 intelligence, you can craft 5 of them into a Blue Jerry Talisman, and then 5 Blue Jerry Talismans into a Purple Jerry Talisman, and then 5 Purple Jerry Talismans into a Golden Jerry Artifact. The Golden Jerry Talisman is one of the most expensive talismans in the game, despite the fact that it actually gives -4 intelligence as its only ability. However, because it is a legendary or mythic talisman, that means it will automatically be very expensive, and the fact that it's so rare and requires 125 Green Jerry Talismans means that it will always be expensive. Even now, after prices have started to drop because people are panic selling, the Jerry Talisman is still the 3rd most expensive talisman after the Hegemony Artifact and the tier 6 or 7 Master Skulls. This means that if you plan on gambling with Jerry boxes and just opening a ton of them, the best thing that you're going to want to look for is 100% the Jerry Talismans. Of course, the Jerry Sheen Guns are nice too, however, I don't really know what the price of those is going to be this time. Last time they were around 1.5 to 2 mil, however now there are a lot more in circulation and fewer people need them. One quick note on gambling with Jerry boxes: if you do plan on doing this to profit, then you should probably go for the blue Jerry boxes. The blue Jerry boxes and the green all have the exact same types of drops, all of them do. However, the one thing that differentiates them is the coin drops. If you're relying on the coin drops for any amount of money, then you can either gamble really big with the gold Jerry boxes trying to get the 10 mil, or you can stick around with just the blue or the green and then rely on the talismans for more of your profit. If you do want to do this method, then I recommend that you are sticking with the blue boxes, because at least last time, while the price of the blue and the green boxes were very similar from the bazaar, you tend to get more coins back from opening the blue boxes. Like many things in this game, I personally don't enjoy gambling with Jerry boxes. I don't really think that's fun, and if I were going to gamble my money away, I would probably just do dragons, because then at least you have a boss fight. These probably aren't going to be a ton of profit, however there is a chance that at least at the beginning of the event, you can make a lot of money off them. I personally will not be doing this because I don't really think that it's a good idea to gamble that much money, but you know, if you really want to go all in, you definitely can. Now that we've gone over the basics of the Jerry Mayor, I want to talk about what is actually best to do during his time in office, because of course he will be winning. He has 93% of the votes. However, if you want to actually do what's most effective at each time, it's not always obvious. In my opinion, you should really just stick with what mayor is in cycle. You'll be able to check that in the calendar events thing. Normally it's here and then it'll show you an extra thing that tells you what mayor is active, and then I recommend that you just grind out those perks. The best ones will definitely be Diana, Marina, and Cole, the ones that have time-based events, because those are the ones that can make the most profit in the least amount of time. If you really want to grind out something like dungeons, then of course there's Paul. And the other fun part about having Jerry as mayor is that you get some of the less elected ones. So Diaz will actually get a max perk. I kind of forget what that is, and it isn't really that useful, but it'll be there. Same thing with Barry, we'll have a max perk Barry, and so that means you can sort of just play around with these less useful mayors and you can still get the insane perks of the Jerry Mayor. During the times that they're in office, I recommend you do things that abuse the 10% stat buff as much as possible. These are things like increased pet luck and increased sea creature chance that you can't really do any other way. The 10% stat buff will mean that you can get 100% sea creature chance solo while barn fishing, which is really, really good in case you want a lot of fishing XP. Add that on to the marina buff, and you will just be absolutely soaking in fishing XP. Similarly, if you ever have a tough time with slayers and you have a tough time one-shotting slayers, then the Jerry Mayor combined with Aatrox will be incredibly powerful. The 10% stat boost will mean, of course, that you get a lot more magic find, and you will be dealing a ton more damage. Also, if you're more early game, you'll have significantly higher EHP, which means that you can tank out some of the early level slayers easier. With that, plus the Aatrox buff, which we haven't had in a while, it means that you can get an absolute boatload of Slayer XP rather quickly and for rather cheap. In case you are wondering about any of the other mayors, I have guides to quite a few of the mayors in Hypixel Skyblock, and I'll put a playlist on screen now in case you want to watch any of those. In my opinion, these will help you a lot, especially the ones that outline what you can do for Diana and Marina, as they basically just walk through what you can do for each of their perks. Diana will be especially good during this time, because this will allow you to get maxed out pet luck, something that you normally can't do. The Diana 35% magic find plus Jerry's 10% stats, all of that combines to get a lot of magic find, and if you have a Diana Mayor during Jerry, or you're just grinding out Diana in general, you will get a lot of money. I realized in that last clip I said Jerry, and by Jerry I don't mean the Jerry Mayor, I mean the Jerry event, which happens in the winter time, and which can also be called the winter event or the Yeti event. And so now I'm really confused because there's way too many Jerrys. There's that Jerry, and then there's the Jerry event, and then there's the Jerry on your island. And so I'm really confused, but just to know that all of it will be OP. Aside from grinding out each individual mayor's perks, you can also just grind out the boxes. However, like I said, there is a cooldown to this, so it's not something that you can grind out all the time. In order to most efficiently get the boxes and the mayor perks, you should really use the Jerry timer chat triggers, and then from there, whenever it says that you have a free Jerry that you can claim or whatever, you go out and you do farming or mining or foraging, or you kill just a lot of mobs, and then that will spawn the hidden Jerry, and then you can go back to grinding whatever it was that you were grinding. A friend of mine who's named HS Fearless, who's on an Iron Man profile, said that what he would be doing is he would be grinding summoning eyes to place dragons with the increased pet luck to get a dragon pet, and then whenever his timer came off cooldown, he would go and mine endstone for the Jerry talismans, and it was a whole series of events, and I think that it was really smart. You should also go and subscribe to him. He streams like 17 hours a day, it's kind of insane, and he makes some really good content, so his channel is linked in the description. One of the best perks of the Jerry Mayor is that it will always change up what you're grinding at each time. Every 6 hours or so, you will get a new thing that is most effective to grind at each time, and that means that you won't ever really get bored, except for when Barry or Diaz are there. But other than that, it's really fun to play around with all of the different mechanics of the game, and to switch from one thing to another within the span of a day. And that means that it's probably the most fun mayor that there is, because you get this insane stat buff, plus a bunch of new items, plus all of the other mayor's perks at the same time, and that is a ton of fun to mess around with, and I strongly recommend that you grind as much of this as you can, not only because it's really effective, but also because it is a ton of fun. And with that, I think we're just about wrapped up for the video, because there isn't really a ton that's super crazy about any gear that you need for this event. All that you really need is just the same gear that you normally use to grind. However, if you need help with any of that sort of stuff, I have a lot of other videos about a ton of different mayors and different things that you can grind out, which will be in a playlist on a card now. Also, if you ever want to ask questions, join my Discord server, discord.gg/dkmcc123. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you around. And with that, I'll see you guys later, and adios.